Thank you, Mr. Malik. And Mr. Malik obviously talked about this whole network virtualization and all. So I represent American Tower Corporation. So I will be more on the physical layer, on the infrastructure layer. So if we have to do all these things, the virtualization of network or providing a network which is kind of capable of providing differentiated services to different customers. Okay, the physical layer, which is the infrastructure part of that, needs to be very, very strong and very, very steady. And I would like to share my thoughts how we are as a country getting ourselves ready, or what are the gaps that we see when we have to offer these services to our customers that Mr. Malik talked about. So the reality is the wireless continues to improve every day. Mobile speeds are faster than ever. So he talked about, a few GB in every village. The coverage are also continuously expanding. So today there are hardly any places left in India which do not have mobile coverage. And this is not only happening in the normal geography, it is also happening in very, very challenging geographies. The mobile devices pack more power and capabilities, all the while there is huge amount of competition between the prices that are coming down. It is because of all these competition in terms of both coverage and capacity that various operators are providing. And if we look at the ways by which this network can be expanded by the operators, so there are basically three ways. One, to buy more spectrum to handle the more and more data demands. The second is to densify the networks, or the third is to have better kind of modulation, or where you can have more megabits getting, you are able to fix in the same megahertz. So these are the three fundamental ways by which the network can be made more agile towards the more and more data that is flowing. So we all know that buying spectrum is not very easy, it's very costly. The second part, the modulation, I think even when we are talking from 4G to 5G, we are not talking about any new modulation, so we are still talking about OFDM. So in that sense, maybe we have reached the peak of how much a megahertz can carry, how many Mbps a megahertz can carry. So we are already on the peak of that. So at the end of the day, the way to handle this whole new data, the enhanced data that we are seeing, the usage that is increasing day by day, is only by the densification of the networks. And if we talk about the densification of networks, so we already have, I don't know, if we talk about number of towers today, so maybe 7-8 lakh towers already in the country. So how much more we can densify that, and what is the way to densify those towers, those networks, okay? So the need of the hour, so to say, is to have these densification coming in. So you need to use lot of these street furnitures, okay, that now this whole macro layer of networks is going to stay. The macro layer of these towers that we have already created, that I talked about, 8 lakh or even more than that we already have. So now the next, the way to densify the network is to lay the next micro layers, the whether we call them small cells or micro cells or whatever we may call them. So that's the challenge which is in front of the operators and the service providers that we are kind of trying to provide. Now, if we look at the challenges that we have in India, if we have to provide this kind of densification of the network, so it's basically threefold. It's one, the location, that if we have to provide that kind of small cells or street furniture, so there should be some kind of way that we can go in each street and put some pole or put some mechanism by which we can put some kind of radiation points on top of that. The second is the availability of fiber at that particular point. And the third is the availability of reliable electric power, because at the end of the day, whatever equipment you put there, it needs to be lit up. So you need to provide the reliable 24/7 power to that. So I think these three are the critical needs that as a country we need to solve if we have to live up to the expectations or live up to the challenges that technology is posing to us in terms of providing those kind of services and those kind of additional, if I may say so, that people are now talking that this whole digital revolution is all about all these factories are now these data generating machines. So, and if we have to go that path, so a lot needs to be done in that sense. So I talked about three things, the most important and where we believe that we are lagging a lot is about fiberization. So even if we talk about our the macro towers that we have, so whatever number of towers that we have, today only maybe 20 to 25% of these towers are fiberized. So there is a dire need to fiberize those towers. Not only those towers, we are also seeing the need of these micro or small cell towers that are coming up. And the second is some kind of ROW rules or ROW ways by which, in each street or in each place where there is a need for, there is a more data consumption, we should be able to put some pole or some street furniture by which basically a place where some kind of radiation point for these base stations can be put, and obviously a reliable power source on that. So how this can be done is through lot of, so if we try to create this whole infrastructure from ab initio, so it's very difficult and it will be very costly. And again, everybody is talking about how to monetize already, okay? So I think there is a need that all the existing infrastructure in terms of street light poles and whatever infrastructure is available right now for various utilities. So all these utility companies need to come forward, share that infrastructure for the usage of this mobile revolution or the data revolution that we all are seeing. And if we so think about that, so all these electric poles are already carrying these electric wires. So why can't these also carry the fiber also, overhead fiber also? So I think that's the challenge which as a country we have in front of us, that we need to enable that all these infrastructures companies or utility companies are able to work together and provide the basic infrastructure that is needed to handle this, if I may say so, the tsunami of data that we are seeing, and how this can be converted into useful service so that all the entities involved in this whole value chain are able to make money out of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ashwani, for this passionate speech that you gave, and I'm sure everybody here in the room echoes your sentiments, and I'm sure these are very, very important aspects for the overall growth and health of the telecom sector and the customers also, the consumers also.